everybody. I'm Keisha Grant.
I'm Terry Brooks. The major party candidates from Connecticut's 2nd Congressional District, Democrat Joe Courtney and Republican Janet Peckinpaugh, are here and ready to debate.
Chief political correspondent Tom Monahan is the moderator. Tom.
Well, thank you both. Joe Courtney is seeking his 3rd term in the House. Janet Peckinpaugh, the former TV anchorwoman who now heads up her own business. Let's begin with Ms. Peckinpaugh. Janet Peckinpaugh, Mr. Courtney wants a 3rd term in the Congress of the United States. Why should he be denied that?
Well, I think it's very simple, Tom. I think if the voters in the 2nd District are happy with where they are 2 years later, 2 years, they feel like they're in a better situation in their lives than they are now, then they'll vote for the incumbent. But if they feel like their lives are worse, they're worse off, they're without work, or they're worried about the taxes that they face, then they will vote for me in this election. It's as simple as that. We are in a very bad economy, and we've got to turn that around.
Mr. Courtney.
Well, I think the voters of this district, if they look at the work that I've done over the last 2 years, they know that I'm out there trying to change what is a tough economy. The front page of the New London Day 2 days ago confirmed the fact that my work on the Armed Services Committee, which brought in new submarine construction, new design work at EB, will be a $1 billion infusion into southeastern Connecticut, a ripple effect which will multiply to small businesses and the supply chain into EB. That didn't happen by itself. I started that effort in 2007 before my opponent even lived in the 2nd Congressional District, and frankly, I think folks in management and in the shipyard who are out there every single day understand that I've been there as a leader, helping turn around that situation in southeastern Connecticut that's been repeated for dairy farmers, small businesses, cops, teachers throughout the district. We've got a lot more work to do, but I think they know they have a trusted official who's out there fighting for them every single day.
Ms. Peckinpaugh, you'd like to respond?
Well, what I have to say to that is, first of all, that sub work would never have happened if it weren't for the help of Congressman Rob Simmons, who was in office before Joe Courtney. And Joe Courtney did not do that work on his own, and anyone who serves in this district will work hard to protect jobs and do what's best for the 2nd District. He also had the help of the Pentagon and both senators from the state of Connecticut. So the fact that Joe Courtney is taking credit for that work is not correct. And also, we're getting jobs that are going to run out. They're temporary jobs through this stimulus bill. What happens to those jobs once the money runs out? They're gone, and they'll be laid off again.
Mr. Courtney, let's talk about the relief program TARP. Your opponent says at one point you were against it, and now you're for it, so let's clarify it. Where do you stand?
She is way off base. I have been against the Wall Street bailout from the first vote and the 2nd vote under President Bush and the 3rd vote under President Obama. My record is crystal clear. It was a imbalanced approach that propped up the banks, that created the mess, the financial mess in this country, and did nothing in terms of forcing them to write down the bad debt that they infected both the U.S. economy and the global economy with. We're still seeing the effects of that even now with the outrageous abusive foreclosure practices that Bank of America, Wells Fargo, Citigroup have now immobilized the real estate market with. That is a vote which my record is crystal clear and which I stand by to this day.
Janet Peckinpaugh.
Well, what I have to say to that is Mr. Courtney voted against TARP, but we needed TARP. We were on the brink of financial disaster. So many of our retirement accounts are tied to those big banks. We had no choice. TARP is being paid back already. TARP is what worked, and we're proving that now. It's the stimulus plan that's not working.
Janet Peckinpaugh, let me ask you this. So now we have a situation where the country is in deep financial shape. We have serious problems there. Wall Street, for a time, there was a total disaster. What would you have done during that period of time to change things?
Well, I certainly would have voted in support of TARP, and even President Obama admits that it worked. And I would vote against these high spending bills. We have a huge debt we have to start paying down. We have to get government spending under control. We do not have a revenue problem in this country. $2.4 trillion of our taxes is going to the federal government, but we spend $3.7 trillion. What I would do to address this right away is lower the corporate income, or the corporate tax rate, and I would also have repatriation of taxes so that corporations that have companies, subsidiaries overseas could bring those taxes back into this country without being taxed at a 35% rate.
Mr. Courtney.
Well, if you listen closely, there was not a single suggestion for a real spending reduction or change in any of her comments. And what I would say, Janet, is that when you first announced your candidacy in May, you told Connecticut Mirror that you would have voted against the Wall Street bailout. Obviously, you've changed your position. What I would just say is that the intervening events that's occurred since May and today shows again that these Wall Street banks don't follow the rules that community banks, small businesses, homeowners have to follow with the abusive foreclosure practices, which again, right now are immobilizing the real estate market. If you talk to realtors out there, the damage that these TARP banks have inflicted again on the U.S. economy is still happening 2 years later. And again, it was a imbalanced approach, which today is still not helping small businesses access credit. The small business lending bill, which we passed a month ago, is now opening the doors for small businesses in eastern Connecticut. Marlboro Plastics, a small firm, was waiting 6 months for Mitch McConnell and his Republican allies to get out of the way so that bill could pass. And now they are tripling of their factory floor space, and they are going to triple their workforce.
All right, Ms. Peckinpaugh, respond to that, please.
Well, the big problem is, Tom, that our businesses, both small and large, have no certainty right now. They have no idea what taxes are coming down the pike, what we're going to see from the health care bill, what we're going to see from financial regulation. They have no idea. But Mr. Courtney voted to adjourn and come home on the taxpayer dollar to campaign for office, and he left the Bush tax cuts unattended. Those are not going to happen. We are going to have a tax increase for every single American who makes $1 come January 1st, and shame on you, Mr. Courtney.
Mr. Courtney.
Yeah, it's just a ridiculous claim. I think anybody observing what happened when we voted to adjourn, we also voted to reconvene on November 15th. There is absolutely no expectation that the entire economy is going to have the prior tax code reimposed on January 1st. We are going to go to Washington on November 15th and address this. It would be nice if Mitch McConnell would actually let us have a vote, a majority up or down vote in the Senate to take up what I think is where the majority of America is, which is that the Bush tax cut should be left in place for middle-class families up to $250,000, and that the rate should revert back to what they were for the top 2%. That would be a balanced, fair approach to deal with this issue, and then we could just move on as a nation.
Ms. Peckinpaugh, does the state of Connecticut have a problem with illegal immigration, and if so, what can we do about it?
The state of Connecticut does have a problem, but here's my thought on immigration reform. We need reform, but we need to have a faster process to allow people who want to come into our country. We are a country of immigrants, so we need to allow them to come into this country and become citizens much faster than they can right now. We also need to allow college students who come here from other countries and are educated at our fine universities. We need to allow them a clear path so they can stay if they want to and become part of our best and brightest.
What do we do about the illegal immigrants?
Reform.
How about the illegal immigration?
Illegal immigration needs to be taken care of by the federal government, but, you know, I don't think it's any greater here than it is in other parts of the country. The federal government has, it is their task for national security. But as far as immigration is concerned, we need to have a stronger immigration policy that allows people who want to live in this country and work in this country to come here legally and come through the legal channels as all of our families have in the past. We need to make that a faster process so the people that want to live and work here can.
Okay, Mr. Courtney.
Sure. I mean, I think if you look at what's happening right now in the INS office in Hartford, they have made a huge progress in terms of eliminating the backlog, which was definitely a real problem. The ICE enforcement, the criminal enforcement, even in the last 18 months, has increased. The number of deportations has gone up. So I do think that there has been, I think, better process that's happening right now in terms of both approving legal immigration and also enforcing illegal immigration. We need, though, to change a system partly along the same lines of what Janet described in terms of creating a path for productive individuals who are going to contribute to our society, including people who are going to volunteer in the military. And we also need, frankly, to step up the penalties for unscrupulous employers who really are part of the problem in terms of bringing in people outside of the law because of the advantage that they get with low labor costs.
Well, thank you both for being with us. Democrat Joe Courtney, Republican Janet Peckinpaugh on our program. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Tom.